Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're doing a special episode, Facebook Live, 7 Summer Family Fun Activities in LA. We wanted to just give families some free and affordable resources of things that they could do in this amazing city that has so much to offer. My name's Roxanne. I work for Speak Up. I'm a parent engagement coordinator, but also just a parent myself, a single parent with a daughter that has always found it's important to get out and take advantage of all of the amazing museums that we have, parks, community events. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I just want to quickly introduce another parent who's joining me today, Sharon, and she's just going to do a quick introduction to herself and why she thinks it's important as well to get out and take advantage of everything our city has to offer.
Yes, hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Sharon, and I am the mom of 3 boys, ages 4, 8, and 11. My kids just do not like things like camp. They don't really like anything that smacks of a lesson or some kind of adult-led organized thing. We were planning to travel this summer, but with this new variant out there, we decided to wait until the kids are all vaccinated. And so we're kind of deciding to have a staycation and just act like we're tourists in LA. And so I'm trying to get them out once or twice a week to some of these places that our wonderful city has to offer.
Exactly. You know, I'm actually glad that you mentioned that because my daughter really rejects summer camp and anything that's like, anything that's like a group activity. She's very much an introverted child. I know I'm not the only one. And when I was working other jobs that weren't flexible, you know, she had to do summer camp and stuff.
Right.
But she really does enjoy being at home and has loved online learning for the last year, which we talked about previously. But we still got to get these kids out of the house, right? They need to socialize. They still need to develop these skills. And so that's what we're going to share today, just some educational options where our kids can be learning, and then some where they can just have fun and be kids, right? Because I think that's important too. So Sharon, I'm going to let you go ahead and jump into the first place that we have on our list.
Okay, so the Brea Tar Pits, interestingly, we're going there tomorrow. And it was actually from seeing that you went there in a Facebook post. And we hadn't been there in a long time. If you're still nervous about going indoors, it's great because the outdoor area is amazing. You could actually spend your whole day there without going inside the museum. You can see the tar pits. There's a big grass hill to roll down. There are statues to climb. And actually, the last time we went there, LACMA was closed, but their sculpture garden was open. So you could actually walk down the street and just kind of hang out in the sculpture garden there, which we had a really fun time doing. And then, of course, there's the museum, the Brea Tar Pits. I think it's called the, oh my God, I'm forgetting the name. Anyway, the Page Museum, that it goes along with the tar pits. And it's fun because they have like animatronic saber-tooth tigers and stuff. The kids really seem to enjoy it. And so what we're going to say about the Brea Tar Pits, as well as the Natural History Museum, which I'm about to talk about, is that both of these museums are connected, and they offer free entry any day of the week that they're open if you come after 3 o'clock. So luckily our family we're not morning people anyway. So we never get out of the house until around then, and nice, you know, there's no traffic, it's cool. So it tends to be a good time to go anyway. You know, one of the things that generally prevents me from taking my kids places, especially when, you know, they're far from where we live, is the traffic, the expense, and the crowds. And what we're going to be talking about today are mostly things that are free. So for example, if you go at 3, you can get in for free, and then most people have left by then. So we can't take care of the traffic, but at least the expense and the crowds, usually if you go later in the day, that will be super helpful in terms of like actually getting to see everything that you want to see. So the last time we went to the Natural History Museum was just a few weeks ago, and we went after 3 o'clock, and it was only open until 5, but when you only have 2 hours, but it's not crowded, you really get to see a lot. So the other thing too is that if you do want to stay outdoors, again, both of these places have beautiful grounds. Natural History Museum has like a native plant, like a learning garden that you can walk through. They have a beautiful lawn out in front where you can have a picnic. So there's just a lot going on. So the only thing I forgot to mention about those is that the museums are free if you're an LA County resident. And so you do need to bring some kind of proof. I don't think they're strict about it, but when we went to the Natural History Museum, they did check my driver's license to make sure I had a Los Angeles address.
Yeah, I think it's usually, I actually called them to verify that, to make sure we're giving accurate information to, our viewers. And so a driver's license, ID, or even the utility bill, I don't think it necessarily has to be a Department of Water and Power. It could be a cell phone bill. They're not too strict about it. Just want to make sure you live in LA County. I did want to add too, when I called them, I found out that starting this week, they're going to be extending their hours on Friday until 9 p.m. So if you get there at 3 or 4 p.m., you have all the way until 9 p.m. to enjoy the day. So there's that advantage. We definitely want you to go to the website and double check the details, parking, things like that. And then the other thing I'll mention is, you mentioned these two museums are connected. I just want to say that they're not physically connected.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they're like part of the same.
They're in different parts of the city. So I think they're run by the same people. But the Brea Tar Pits you'll find in West LA, and then the Natural History Museum you'll find south of downtown LA. So they are further apart, but again, we're dropping all of the links to these websites so you can go ahead and look at the details. And then Sharon, real quickly, would you mention the ages of your kids, just to give the variety so that parents know that, there's something really for all ages of kids?
Yeah, my kids are 4, 8, and 11, and they all had a great time. They've had a great time at both of these places.
Perfect. And my daughter's 13, almost 14, so I'm getting to that age where I kind of have to drag her some places. But, speaking of that, our next location we're going to share, I did take her when she was younger, and that's the Getty Villa Museum. Not the Getty, up on the hill. This is the Getty Villa, and this is in Malibu. It's a beautiful location. It's on PCH. You're across the street from the beach. And again, if you're looking to spend more time outdoors versus indoors, it has a beautiful outdoor space. There's fountains in the front. This is free admission as well. You just want to go online to their website in advance and reserve your ticket. So you want to reserve the day that you're going to go. And then you can have free tickets and free entrance to get in there. I do remember when I took my daughter years ago that there was an interactive kids area, specifically educational area just for kids. You're going to see a lot of Roman and Grecian art there, and it's much smaller than the Getty. So if going to the Getty is kind of overwhelming because it's so big, it's beautiful, but it's a lot to cover, especially with younger kids. The Getty Villa is perfect. So that's one of my recommendations. And then, Sharon, if you want to share our next museum with them.
Sure. And I did want to just add that when you brought up the Getty Villa, I realized that the beach that we go to all the time as a family is right across the street from the Getty Villa. So you could kind of even make it a combined day, because you don't have to spend that much time in either place. Of course, the sun goes down really late these days. So you could go to the Getty Villa, and then you can just, because the beach across the street from the Getty Villa is one of those where you can just park on PCH and walk down. It's really like a more easy kind of low maintenance beach. So anyway, just wanted to add that to your Getty Villa.
No, that's a great suggestion. I'm glad you did, because if you live in the valley like us or somewhere in South LA, making that drive to Malibu could be pretty far, right? So you might as well make the most of it. So I think that's a great suggestion. We're fortunate to live right by the beach, so you might as well take advantage. Yeah.
Exactly. And I haven't been to the Getty Villa since I was a kid on a field trip, so I'm going to take you up on this suggestion myself. Okay, so our next location is the Broad Museum, which we also happen to have plans to go to. We haven't been in a few years. You do have to go. So it's free to enter, and you don't have to go at 3 o'clock if you are into being places in the mornings. You can go any time of day. You just have to reserve a ticket. And I think even before COVID, it was like that. You always had to reserve a spot. I think they had some standby tickets back in the day, but anyway, you do have to get the tickets in advance, but it is free. There are a few exhibits that cost money, but their general collection is free, and there's so much to see in there. My kids love the architecture of that building, by the way. They always said that it looked like it was punched by Hulk. that it had like a giant, like a fist came and just punched it. So they were super into that. And then the art that's inside is kind of modern. It's kind of whimsical. And so the kids really enjoyed the actual art that was in there. It was, there were like giant, colorful balloon animals, sculptures, anime looking stuff, just things that they really enjoyed. And it also felt like it was a little more kid friendly in terms of just the way they treat you in there. Like they don't make you, they don't constantly follow you around telling you to stop touching this and don't get too close to that. And, that sort of stuff. It just has a kind of a more friendly, family friendly vibe. And then the last time we went, which was a few years ago, we actually brought this kind of another double whammy thing that we did. We went to the Broad, and then we brought bathing suits and towels, and we went to the Grand Park Fountain, which is something I'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, I was going to add, the Broad has been one of my favorite places for a long time. I love downtown and the art, and I also study design, so I love the architecture of that building. And especially if you have a child like mine, and it sounds like yours, that's very into animation, maybe anime, cartoons. It's definitely much more fun. They've got some Warhols there, some really, bright, fun pieces. The one exhibit that is extra, which I'm not sure if it's open now, which I've always wanted to do and I haven't, is the Infinity Room.
Same here.
All the mirrors.
Yeah.
I've never been able to do that, but I really want to, so I'm looking to go back to it. And I do believe that they have put up some new pieces and some new artwork, so even if you've been there in the past, it might be worth going back. I will mention too, since we've been talking about outdoors, is that this museum is all indoors. So if you're hesitant about going indoors, maybe this is one that you might want to wait on, but if you're not and you're ready to do that, this is a great place to visit. And then we're going to stay in downtown LA for just a moment as we talk about the next couple places. So as many of you may know, or maybe some don't, our Los Angeles public libraries are open again. So of course we have our local neighborhood public libraries that you can go and visit. However, we did want to feature the Central Library, which is also in downtown LA. Again, if you appreciate architecture and art, it's a beautiful building. It's very, very different. It's definitely not your average library, right? And we did have a parent leader that went there recently. We'll be sharing some pictures. And they have a really big children's reading room. And one of the things that our parent leader said was that the librarians there are really knowledgeable, as they probably usually are, and really willing to help your kids, find out the right book for them so they can do some summer reading. And then if you want to stroll around downtown, you can go over to where you were just mentioning. I'll let you talk more about the Grand Park.
Yeah, so the last time we went to the Broad, we discovered the Grand Park Fountain. Grand Park itself is beautiful, even if you don't want to play in the fountain and bring your bathing suits and all that. It's this beautiful park that stretches a few blocks up from City Hall. And so anywhere you're standing in Grand Park, you can get this beautiful view of City Hall, and it makes for really nice pictures. It's a kind of place where you can just bring a picnic and hang out. But what we love to do is go to the Grand Park Fountain. And even if you've been somewhere else during the day and you think, oh my God, what a hassle to bring bathing suits and towels, it's actually, the way it's set up is quite easy and fun. First of all, it's kind of like a splash pad. It's just one of those fountains that's like got an inch deep of water, and then there are fountains shooting up. And all surrounding it are tables and chairs where you can put your stuff down and where parents can sit and watch their kids play. And then there's a really nice, clean bathroom where you can change into your bathing suit and then, change out of your wet clothes when you're done. And the parking is really convenient too. It's all like, sometimes when I imagine going downtown, I'm like, oh my God, the parking, the hassle, the this, the that. I don't know. Grand Park Fountain, it's very easy. And then there is a coffee place. I don't know if I can name the brand. It's a Starbucks, but there happens to be a Starbucks right there next to the area where all the parents sit. And so it's nice because you can just go in and grab a snack or whatever. And, it's just really convenient, really nice. It's a really fun day, even if you just go to the fountain, or if you combine it with one of these other things that we've been talking about, lvarez Street or the library or the Broad or any of these downtown. Again, if it's a hassle for you to get downtown and you think, oh my God, I sat in traffic for 2 hours to get here, then maybe you want to, make, like you say, make the most of it, spend your whole day there and do a few different activities.
I'm so happy you mentioned Alvarez Street. That's a family favorite of mine. The restaurants, the shopping, and I'm going to put a little plug in. And, it's one of the oldest parts of Los Angeles, and those merchants there, have been there for generations, and they really struggled during COVID. So if you really want a fun place to take your kids for the day, go there and support some small local vendors. And that's right across from Union Station. You also don't have to drive, right? I went to college in downtown, and when it rained, I really didn't want to drive. And I would take the Metrolink to Union Station and take the Red Line. And if you go to Union Station and you come out, Alvarez Street is right there, Another thing that's right next to it that we're also going to talk about is we wanted to share some community events that are also coming up. And of course, we can't cover it all, so we're just going to plug in a few. But this Saturday, there's an event taking place, and it's actually the first annual People's Kite Festival. And they're calling it Community and Unity. And that's this Saturday the 17th at 2 p.m. We're going to put the link in the comments. You do want to go online and register, but that is a free event as well. And that is actually right next to Chinatown. So if you wanted to hop over to Chinatown, you take, the train, you end up at Union Station. You do have some public transportation here in Los Angeles that you can take advantage of. And I love how we can hear your kids in the background, which is why we have to get our kids out of the house, right? Like, there's only so much you can do. They get a little rambunctious and stuff. And so that's why, again, we want to share some of this with you.
When you mentioned Union Station, I was also going to say Union Station is a place to visit and walk around. Like, it's indoors, but kind of like, when you were talking about the Broad being all indoors, it is all indoors. And if that makes you uncomfortable, you shouldn't go. But it is a huge building that feels like it's very kind of well ventilated and open. And I would say the same thing about Union Station, that, and you can go in there and just, because even trains are even kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of special to adults our age, because we didn't really take trains much as kids, and so just being at a train station is such a different experience, especially when you grow up in LA. And the architecture in Union Station is beautiful, and of course there are also a lot of outdoor areas there to walk around.
I actually did not ride a train until I started college. In downtown LA. I never rode a train before, never really took any kind of form of public transportation. And, obviously you want to be safe, but it's an experience in itself. And Union Station is beautiful too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to add to that.
I already lost it.
I'm sorry.
I have like instant amnesia. That's my...
If it comes back to you, let me know.
I will. I'll bring that.
But we've spent quite a bit of time in downtown LA, right, talking about places there. We talked about West LA. We talked about Malibu. But we do want to talk about the place that is overlooked a lot, and that's the San Fernando Valley. And that is where both of us are from. And there's lots to do here as well, especially when it comes to community events. So, you really want to, when it comes to community events, I find the best way to find out is to follow your local elected officials, right? Your supervisor, your assembly member, your senator, your council member. These are the people that really put on these types of events. So here in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, our supervisor is putting on a free movie night in the city of Sylmar, which is where I live. And that is going to be at El Carrizo Park. In Sylmar this Friday. Let me get the information on the screen there. There we go. And they're going to be playing the live action Dumbo movie. That's starting at 8:30. And this is a big regional park. This is a huge park. It's beautiful. It's actually we're very lucky to have these green spaces, especially in this part of the valley. I don't know if there's any more movies coming up after this. Pre-COVID, they had a whole summer series. I'm not sure if they're bringing that back in full scale. But they are featuring this movie, and community events are something special to me, because that's where you really get to see the people that maybe, your other mom friends from the school that you haven't seen in like a year and a half, are really fun, and you can have that chance to kind of reconnect or meet new people, right? So that's something that's happening in the Northeast. And then Sharon, you want to share what's happening with them on the Southwest side of the valley?
Yeah, so for years now, my family's been going to this concert in the park every Sunday in the summer in Woodland Hills at Warner Center Park. It starts around 5:30 or 6, and you just go there, you lay out a picnic blanket. You can bring a picnic if you want, or they do have food trucks there. People bring board games, they bring cards. They bring their folding chairs. They play, frisbee. They throw a football around. It just feels like, because I grew up in the Valley and we sort of went from our house to our car. We didn't have a lot of interaction with people. And so this just feels very community. It feels like everyone's getting together this one day and it's relaxed and it's calm and it's cooler usually because it's, 6 o'clock in the evening, but it's not so cold that you can't, that you need a sweater or anything. They also have a really nice playground at this park. So, and then of course, I didn't even mention that there are bands playing. They actually have a band, a couple bands that play. And I think it goes from like 5:30 until 8. And then the bands are over and everybody packs up and goes home. The parking is not free, but I don't think it's that hard to find street parking if you do, but they do have a structure. There's like an office building nearby and they use the structure for that. So you can just pay whatever it costs. I don't remember the parking price. It's not prohibitive. Right. And then park in the structure or, years ago before we had a parking pass, we go so much that I bought a parking pass, but we used to just find street parking and squeeze in somewhere on the street. So anyway, it just feels like a really nice, it's like a way to see the other folks in your community that, a lot of times you're sort of separated from because you live up a hill and you get in your car and you just go to your workplace or whatever, there's just like a little more togetherness.
And you can travel to one side of the valley to the other, right? People who live on my side can travel to that side. And it's funny as you're talking about this, I remember, as a kid growing up, I think those concerts have been going on for a long time. My mom was very much about live music, and I actually remember going to a concert in the park at Warner Center when Tito Puente was playing, who's a famous culture.
Wow.
And my sister, whose birthday is coming up here a little bit, has no stage fright and ended up getting on stage with Tito Puente and had the maracas.
Oh my God.
And was playing.
That's an amazing booking for this venue. That's an impressive booking. Okay.
Right, exactly. This was years ago. I mean, she's going to be 30 next week. So this was probably about, 28 years ago, and she just had no fear and still doesn't. And that's like a family memory that we had. Hey, remember when you got on stage with Tito Puente and played the maracas? So, those are kind of like the family memories that I think that are important and that can be made at different community events, right? Even the parks we talked about. Yeah.
Since we have a little extra time, I was going to bring up too that this same organization, Valley Cultural Foundation, I think they're called.
Yeah,
they're also doing this.
The link in there.
Yes, I saw that. Okay, cool. They're doing, this is not free, but it's just really interesting. They're doing a movie series that's the location where they're showing the movie is related to either like where they filmed it or something to do with the movie. So like they're doing, I think they're doing Cars, like a screening of Cars, but they're doing it at like an old mid-century motel, like the one they have in the movie. We actually have tickets not until September to go see Star Trek at the Star Trek movie that was like the reboot with Chris Pine. Okay. And it's at the Anheuser-Busch factory. I have no idea why that's related, but I'm assuming they're going to tell us that they probably filmed there. They probably filmed there. I didn't even know that was a filming location. But anyway, so it's kind of a neat thing they're doing right now. And I know they used to do movies on the Warner Center Park too. But again, with COVID, I'm not sure if they're still doing those.
Well, a little Valley fun fact was the Budweiser factory used to be Busch Gardens, and it used to be a theme park.
Oh my God.
Like a lot of people who grew up in the 60s and 70s remember how you could go there with the family very inexpensively and spend the whole day at the Budweiser factory, which used to be a Busch Garden. So that's just a little Valley trivia for you there. That kind of doesn't surprise me that they have that there.
I mean, who knew? And I thought Busch Gardens was only in Florida. So we have hijacked this conversation the Valley has hijacked the conversation. But
that's okay.
Anyway.
We talked about downtown.
We did.
And actually, to close out, one thing I wanted to mention is if there are events in your community that we didn't mention that you would like us to feature, please feel free to reach out and share that with us. I'm actually going to go ahead and share my email here at Speak Up. And please, if there's any museums or places that you've gone to and you'd like us to feature that on our Facebook, go ahead and send that to me. If it's somewhere that you've been or somewhere that you're going. If there's a community that we didn't talk about that you would love to hear more about, please let us know. We might come back and do another Facebook Live like this, or maybe just put up a post and share that information. I do want to mention that we are going to have this same version of a conversation on our Spanish Speak Up page, and we can go ahead and put the link in there in the comments as well. That'll be Thursday at the same time, 4 o'clock. And so we're going to have the same conversation in Spanish, so that way we're trying to be as inclusive as possible. Also, another great way, like I mentioned, to find out about community events is from your local elected officials. Well, how do you know who those are, right? One thing that's really great about Facebook is if you log into your Facebook account where you're watching this, sometimes it's in different places depending on what device you're using, but there's usually that tab over on the left side where you can look at your events and your memories and stuff like that. You scroll all the way down, there is something called Town Hall. Click on Town Hall. Over on the right, there's a box where you put in your address, and it brings up all of your local elected officials, which I think are important to know who they are anyway, right? And to follow.
Yes.
And so when they have different events coming up that they're sponsoring, if you're following all of them, you'll be able to find that. And this will help you follow your elected officials from your most local council person all the way up to, the state treasurer or governor or whoever it is if you want to follow. So I always like to put that in, because I remember I discovered that when somebody showed it to me. I had no idea that existed. So that's another great way to stay connected. But if you want to stay connected with us, please, if you're not following Speak Up already, go ahead and follow and like our page. That way you can stay connected. We're going to be sharing more of this information with you in the future, and we just want to encourage all of our families to get out. We've all been cooped up in our houses for so long, especially being such an epicenter here, and so we want to encourage everybody to be safe, of course, and take those precautions, but we also want to think about the mental health of our kids and be able for them to get out and have some fun and do some of the fun things in life that we should be able to do, especially while we have this time left in our summer. So I think that's it for us. If there's any last thing you want to mention, Sharon, go ahead. If not, I'll thank you just for being here with me.
Well, I guess one thing back to downtown LA is that sometimes our family will just walk around Little Tokyo. It's just awesome there. There's so much you can do. And we were talking about free stuff. Usually we usually go get something to eat, but then we end up just walking around and seeing everything and going in and out of the shops. And it's just a really fun area to walk around in. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's great. There's so much to see. And you don't have to spend a lot of money.
Right.
A lot of families, like even if you're a single parent like me and it's just myself and my daughter, or you're a family of 5 like you, right? Either way, the cost can add up. So we really wanted to give everybody free and affordable options because I think we're really fortunate to live in a place where we can take advantage of so much of this. So, maybe we'll be able to bring this back to you, but either way, just look out for posts where we're going to be sharing more of this information. And that's it. Thank you so much, Sharon, for being here. If anybody
Thank
has
you for
any
having
questions,
me.
no problem. Go ahead and type in questions in the comments. If you end up catching this later on, we can still come back in and answer those questions for you. Thanks.